Think about your biggest personal problem right now. The one weighing on your heart and mind. What would it feel like to release it? For this big personal problem that you're having, are you ready to help solve it? Are you in the right mindset? It took me a few years personally to be there for my own health, and that's totally okay. My name is Vanessa, and I have an aggressive and rare tumor called a desmoid tumor. Over the past 10 years, I've had 9 different treatment protocols, including 2 operations, one that has left me with an open wound on my back, radiation, 2 experimental operations, and 4 different chemo protocols, all of which have not led to a cure. Depending who you talk to is classified as cancer or not, but it doesn't metastasize, but it's locally aggressive. And I had it first in 2011 and had surgery. It was small at the time, and then it came back in 2016. I knew immediately the tumor had returned.
My dear, sweet child, that's what I do. It's what I live for.
My tumor is called Ursula. The way desmoid tumors kind of react is that they don't invade, but they push, and they have tentacles. So the idea of like clear margins is kind of nebulous. And so I started getting this image of Ursula from The Little Mermaid. And then after a pretty massive surgery I had in 2018, it came back in 3 places. And so now like Ursula has her little eels. In the 5 years since, it has been relentless in its pursuit to take over my life, and I have been relentless in my pursuit to find a cure. My initial approach was like most people, trust the experts and do what they said, which may or may not be 100% aligned to my needs as the patient. The research I did led me to finding a nonprofit called Research to the People, who would become my partner in this process and are helping me discover the genetic drivers for my tumor and also helping identify personalized treatment outcomes that can help me find a cure.
Vanessa first contacted me after she had heard about our work with a previous patient. We got on the phone right away, and she was on a hike in Stinson Beach.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to chat and your quick response. And it just feels nice, honestly. It's like a possibility of like having people to collaborate with. I'm happy to contribute.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much. And I'll talk to you very soon.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Pete.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
The recording has stopped.
The first 5 years she was diagnosed, she had it removed, and it was relatively contained. But when it came back, it was really aggressive. But I think she was also just under the impression that it was something that she'd be able to take care of. They felt that they had removed most of the tumor. You can remove the head and the arms, but there are all these little strands that sort of creep out. The tumor went into a rapid growth cycle, and it was very clear at that point that we needed to go back onto some chemotherapy protocol and do that as quickly as possible.
At the time when Vanessa reached out to us, I don't think that she had a game plan for what she wanted from us, but she knew she needed a higher degree of care that she wasn't receiving in the clinical system. Research to the People at Stanford is a program that helps advanced cancer patients go beyond standard of care when they have exhausted their current known clinical options. The patients that we're working with typically have aggressive metastatic disease or rare cancer where there's just not many standard of care options to begin with.
The entire purpose of Research to the People is to help patients with rare, undiagnosed or aggressive type of cancer or conditions and then try to really model it. One problem with the field of cancer is that you need patient's tissue. You need something to study. You always can tackle the enemy if you know the enemy the most.
Our program is really focused on multiomics data, specifically longitudinal multiomics. And multiomics means DNA, RNA, proteomics, metabolomics, microbiome, basically any data that can be generated for you as a human biologically. In precision medicine, the trend is more data, multiomics data, and integrative multiomics. Right now, what you can access clinically in terms of multiomics is pretty sparse. But for patients that need to go beyond standard of care, multiomics is essential. What's really exciting for us is being able to generate that data that is just completely inaccessible to patients and help use it to guide treatment decisions.
Precision medicine, in a nutshell, is the use of a molecular insight and connecting it with a particular drug that targets that insight. The deeper you get inside someone's cancer, the more unique it becomes. But we can't study cancer as a set of unique diseases, or at least we haven't figured out how to do that. Instead, we make these simplifying assumptions. That means that we make drug-centric or protocol-centric therapy for patients. And we've not graduated from that to making patient-centric therapies, treatments that are specifically tailored and designed to take down a particular patient's cancer. We don't have a good way of studying rare tumors because no one ever gets to see enough of them to actually make a study that can easily test a hypothesis. It takes a tremendous faith in science. We're not doing evidence-based medicine, we're doing science-based medicine because there is no evidence that can help you.
Data is not like everything, right? It's art and science. But right now, in the last 10 years, it's only been art in a way. Like it's like, well, we could try this, we could try that. And there's been no data to kind of justify any decision for my care ever. And so this kind of like patient-centered care where it's like literally about my case and not about some standard norm, like clinically proven doesn't matter when you have a rare disease. And so instead of like waiting to be told what to do or what my options are, it's like doing a lot of independent research, deciding what data we need, having an independent team. And I'm tapping into these different institutions and doctors that align to my plan.
Oh, it's so good, and it's not too sweet.
Bellissimo.
And you can actually see the bits of lemon in it.
We had multiple teams working on Vanessa's case, and so we started to devise a clear strategy for her care. The big challenge was it just took us a long time to be able to generate the data and come up with the insights. And so we only started to have insights that were actionable. And at that point, Vanessa's disease had continued to evolve to the point that it was starting to get very, very complicated. I cannot understate how important research to the people were and are. The way they think about personalized medicine, I believe without a doubt is the future of how we tackle these diseases.
We are conducting 13 different tests that are the cutting edge science. 50 scientists, research, and doctors will be coming together for an in-person hackathon looking at just my data to help us identify new solutions. It's actually overwhelming, the response from the research community.
Throughout the journey, Vanessa became like a sister to me, a sister I never had. But I was so worried because all the data could tell us that they are not really showing the best prognosis. Our cancer patients generally are those that they are almost in their end stage of cancer and they have been facing multiple relapses and they really exhausted the standard of care. And sometimes we might not be able to really serve this patient, but this type of comprehensive data can actually help future patients or patients who are in earlier stage of the disease. And this is an opportunity to really bring everybody together.
Historically, there existed or still exists a gap between the physician on one side and the researchers on the other side. There needs to be more communication between the providers that take care of patients, the clinical unmet needs, and the researchers. And we have learned over the many decades of cancer research that single patients can very well inform us about new pathways, about how cancers respond to therapy, and that data is crucially important to develop certain new paradigms for treatment and diagnostics on a larger scale. These technologies take many years to develop and need to be validated in patients in order to become diagnostic tests. It is my opinion that we need to move these type of diagnostic techniques and tools into patient management earlier than approved by the FDA.
Applying scientific insight about a patient's cancer is where the art comes in. And when you understand that network, you start thinking, I could use this drug and this drug. Now, can I really put all those drugs together? How would one put all those drugs together? Is it safe? What doses will we use? How will I monitor the patient? Because there's no cookbook approach of anybody ever having done that particular combination before.
I might never have a cure, but I can still find healing. I think it's just a snapshot of what's possible, and this path is like my little seedling of hope, right? You know, it's like, okay, like maybe this is going to be something. Let's put energy there. So no matter what happens, it's nice just to have that anchoring. So I really appreciate it.
Every time things became more complicated, Vanessa went in and somehow was able to just recalibrate and get over these things. And I'd say the same happened when, you know, prior to her passing, she had to come to terms with the fact that this disease had done so much damage to her body, and that turning it around was, you know, had become impossible. What are you eating, Vanessa?
Oh, a lava cake. Getting some of the ice cream.
She had accepted that while she wanted to live, her body had been through so much trauma. She had 10 years of disease, 5 years of incredible suffering, but at the end she had an incredibly peaceful passing, which I'm very grateful for. You know, that's all I could ask for.
The end of our time with Vanessa was really complex. It was a challenging time because there were still things that we wanted to try. There's still innovative treatments that we wanted to help her get access to. I regret that we weren't able to get her the treatment options that were still on our list or continue trying. The types of cases that we are taking on are aggressive, rare, and severe. These are the most difficult cases out there. Vanessa is a prime example.
The treatment options are limited. We know that our loved ones are suffering in front of us and we are not capable of finding the right treatment for them. So what we can do together as a community of scientists, we need to bring the whole army together. We have to really provide a friendly environment that nobody think that we are against each other, we are completing each other, and try to serve someone which could be us or our loved ones. I think she was so kind and generous, but maybe she didn't know that. We are more grateful for her. To be part of this journey.
Research to the People is a really special program that motivates the entire ecosystem of biologists and oncologists and bioinformaticians to think more creatively and think outside of the box. One of the aspects of our work is documenting exactly where we're at with our capacity in precision medicine today, and then measuring that over a year, 5-year, 20-year horizon. I'm curious if there's technologies in the future that can help us answer some unsolved questions for the patients that we have today, even retrospectively. I think that can add a lot to the scientific literature and just how we are able to treat other advanced patients.
My journey has been beyond difficult, and the thing that helps me the most to move through suffering is sharing what I've learned with others. So thank you for the opportunity to share that with you today.
Love, pure love, like fierce love. Everything she did was for other people, which like brought her up and also everyone else, and you could just see the joy and the pride.
I don't know that this is a term that I really apply to people, but she's just such a magical being. And so I don't know where all this stuff came from, but it feels like it came from her.
There's this one figure, almost just like a firefly, just like swirling around, skirt just twirling everywhere, and just completely free spirit, just utter, just authenticity and authentic happiness. And it was one of those things you just immediately recognize someone's soul just like shining through.
She just has such a light about her. She walks into a room and there is a gravitational pull.
She was just like this flame, and people would come to that flame and their lives would just like flourish as a result.
She was dancing and I saw Mark look at her. And that's the definition of love to me. And I tell that to Mark, but the way that he looked at her and she looked at him, I mean, that's love.
It's a perfect example of human experience. We all need each other.
Community essentially was the heart of everything Vanessa did. She had an incredible ability to effortlessly bring people together. You know, she recognized that was her legacy. And I know that she left this world feeling very loved, and she wasn't ready to go, but she was accepting that this was part of the journey.